This is CNN 10, your down-the-middle explanation of events taking place worldwide. I'm Carl Azus. Thank you for watching this March 22nd. We're taking you to New Zealand right now as the South Pacific nation mourns 50 people who were killed in a shooting at two mosques last week. The country's prime minister said on Thursday that major changes were ahead concerning the country's gun laws.
Today I'm announcing that New Zealand will ban all military-style semi-automatic weapons. We will also ban all assault rifles. We will ban all high-capacity magazines. In short, every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country.
Prime Minister Ardern said the new laws would make her country safer and that she hoped they'd be in place by April 11th. New Zealand police estimate that there are 1.2 million guns in the country, roughly one for every 4 people. Not every kind will be banned. Some classes of firearms used in hunting, farming, and pest control will still be allowed. But many New Zealanders have legally bought the kinds of guns that are now illegal, and the government's planning a buyback program to pay them when they turn in their guns. New Zealand's police association says it supports the new law, calling the government courageous for acting to ban the weapons. But not everyone is on board. A hunting business owner interviewed by NPR says the ban will affect part of his livelihood and that it's a disappointment to penalize hundreds of thousands of gun owners for what one person did. Today, 1 week after the attack, New Zealand is holding what its prime minister calls a nationwide reflection for the dead. Up next, the U.S. Justice Department is trying to determine if any laws were broken in the certification process for certain passenger planes. The model is Boeing's 737 MAX series. One of these planes crashed in Indonesia last October, another crashed in Ethiopia earlier this month. Everyone aboard both flights was killed, and the 737 MAX jets have been grounded worldwide. U.S. investigators are looking into everything from how the plane was certified as safe to how it was marketed. Meantime, Boeing has developed a software patch and a pilot training program to address some of the issues with the MAX aircraft.
One of the most important concepts in aviation is the angle of attack. In simple terms, it's the difference between the angle of the wings and the direction in which the plane is flying. Imagine a plane that's about to land. Its nose is pointed up, but the plane is still moving down towards the runway. That difference there is the angle of attack, sometimes called alpha. If the angle gets too big, if it exceeds a critical angle of attack, a plane stalls. Airliners have an angle of attack sensor, and it's connected to the instruments and systems inside the plane. One of these is Boeing's new MCAS system on its 737 MAX series of airliners. MCAS is an automated anti-stall system. This system is the focus of the investigation into October's Lion Air crash, and experts say there are similarities between it and the Ethiopian Airlines crash. If the MCAS system senses a high angle of attack, it'll push down the nose to avoid a stall. But if the angle of attack sensor is malfunctioning and gives a faulty reading, the system could force the plane to dive, with potentially disastrous consequences.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a new executive order, a rule issued by the White House that has the force of law, and it's aimed at protecting the freedom of speech on college campuses. At the signing ceremony yesterday, President Trump said the federal government provides U.S. colleges with more than $35 billion in research funding. And if they want to continue receiving that money, they'll be required to show that they're protecting the First Amendment on their campuses. This follows some incidents at the University of California at Berkeley, where some conservative activist speeches have been canceled and one conservative recruiter was punched in the face last month. President Trump says American students and values are under siege and that taxpayer money shouldn't subsidize colleges that don't protect the First Amendment. There are some questions about how the order will be enforced and how much money could be held back. The American Association of University Professors and the American Federation of Teachers call the order a dangerous solution to a largely non-existent problem and said it was more likely to discourage free expression than encourage it. The president suggested that more government actions were on the way. He called this order the first in a series of steps to defend students' rights. The details weren't given on what might come next. 10-second trivia. In what professional field would you deal with bokeh, ISO, and hot shoe? Photography, ophthalmology, nursing, or welding? All of these terms are related to photography or photographic equipment. It's a field whose average pay is between $30,000 and $40,000 per year, though top photographers can make a lot more than that. And it attracts people who are multi-skilled because adjusting the camera, working with light, and composing good shots require both technical and artistic ability. CNN sat down with a photographer who snapped up presidential history.
My name is Eric Draper. I was the chief White House photographer for President George W. Bush. I took nearly 1 million photos during my time in the White House, and I was able to capture him not only as commander-in-chief, but as a father, as a dog owner, and as a husband. What a lot of people don't know about the president is he connects with people on such a personal level instantly. I believe he has a God-given talent with connecting at people, and I watched it for all 8 years, from a janitor in the hallway to the king of Saudi Arabia, who was able to break the ice with people. He was able to instantly read them to start a personal discussion. What was going through my mind on 9/11, I was in complete shock the entire day. I had the advantage of having a camera in my hand and a job to do to distract me, knowing that it was a historic day, knowing that these pictures will be seen forever. But the president was in full reaction mode. He never stopped to look at the television, and he picked up a notepad and he started writing down his first thoughts for his first statement to the nation and to the world in response to the attacks. In this photograph, President Bush had just committed troops to Iraq, and you can still see that decision still weighing on his face as he walked the South Lawn alone with the dogs. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Vice President Cheney and Don Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, walking out of the Oval Office, and the president walked over to greet them. And later, I found out that they were discussing the start of the timing of the war in Iraq. On January 20th, 2009, after the swearing in of President Obama, you can see the burden of the presidency was just lifted. You can just see it on his face immediately. I spent 8 Christmases with the Bush family at Camp David, and every Christmas the Bush clan would get together for a group photo inside the cabin, and it was always fun. And typically I was the only staffer there, and they always made me feel like family. You look back at these pictures and they have historical perspective, especially on days like 9/11 and all those major decisions that the president made. They bring people back to those emotions so they can remember what that time was like. Having an archive like this is very important.
A man in Australia was recently out running errands. He left his car running to keep the air conditioning on for his dog, but he also left the door open, and look who else climbed aboard.
Can I get you to come out of my car, please?
At first, the answer was no. The two animals shared the air and the space, separated by a seat. But eventually, the marsupial hopped out of the vehicle and took his rightful place in a nearby tree. Might have been a challenge to get the animal to cooperate, but it didn't seem to take a whole lot of time. The video helped corroborate the story. After a patient marsupial, the animal migrated to its arboreal home. It makes for a colorful conclusion to CNN 10. Fridays are awesome. I'm Carl Zeus. You have a quality weekend.